The question isn't whether this is better than the 90s one. Is it better than the porno version?
I mean, my big, bar that I try to see if it can be better than is Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That movie is damn entertaining. It's awful, but it's fucking entertaining.
And you made the point after this movie, which was, regardless of this one being better or not, it is. But there will be some days where you're just in the mood to watch Annihilation.
Every day?
Yeah.
There's never a day when I'm not in the mood to watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
The new one is technically better, but the line reading and James Remar in the other one.
Oh my God,
I'm just feeling that kind of day.
I love it.
Yeah. This one's longer than the adult version I watched recently. That one was only 30 minutes long. But there was nothing in this one that was quite as awkward as for 20 minutes of that movie. Shao Kahn, is that right? Shao Kahn. You said that with confidence.
Pretty sure.
I think so. Sitting in the background watching Johnny Cage and Katana have sex for 20 minutes. Sitting there doing nothing. Should I move? Should I do anything?
Was the porno named Shao Cock?
No, it's just called Mortal Kombat, a triple X parody. It makes it easy to search for it.
True.
I'm actually pretty tired right now, and so the first few minutes of this movie, where it's pretty bleak and super serious, you had mentioned it's kind of starting out like an Ang Lee movie, and for those first few minutes, I was thinking, I'm already kind of tired. This might feel really long. Is this movie going to be super serious and feel 4 times longer than it is? Because I only brought so much Mountain Dew with me. Didn't take very long for me to be like, this movie's pretty damn entertaining.
It gets pretty silly pretty fast.
It does.
It starts out kind of like an Ang Lee movie, then it becomes a martial arts film, then it becomes Creed, then it becomes Green Lantern.
It becomes Temple of Doom for a little bit.
Yeah, and then somewhere in there it kind of becomes Mortal Kombat.
A little bit. But still, it was about 20, 30 minutes in or something like that, and Rob, I think, was the first one of us to say, I already like this better than the one from 95, and I went, so do I. I do. I didn't see the one from 95 when it came out. I saw it when I was way older.
I saw it when it
Did you?
Oh, we all hated it. But we were also kids at the height of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
I think 2 just came out. I think 3 was on its way to, coming out. Oh, we're so hyped for that. And as soon as we saw PG-13, we're like, maybe it can still be good. And so all of us hated it because there was no gore, no swearing, no blood or anything like that. And comparing it to this, where it does have gore and swearing and all that good stuff, a very, very, very fair amount. I'm sure a lot of people online are going to be like, well, hell yeah, but there are a few things I like a little better in the other one, but not many. The look I like more in the other one. I thought it looked more like the game.
And Christopher Lambert, who's always great.
And
the kickin' theme.
The music is really cool. And then I felt like and this is the one major problem with the story, in the original, I mean, it goes at a decent enough pace. I can follow it. I know what's going on. This one, I felt like they had a movie that was probably 2 hours, or maybe even a little over 2 hours, and then they're like, cut out 10 minutes. And they didn't know how the hell to do that, because the editing in this movie is not that good.
Oh, in this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my biggest problem, honestly.
I can point to a couple of those things, too, that I did like better than the other one, because I was that guy in 95 where I was like, I'm not seeing a PG-13 Mortal Kombat. I got the Genesis. I got the blood code. I don't need to go see this. This is, I was that, angry, quasi-fan, I guess, of the game. I played. I was never obsessed with it, but I played it enough. Going to arcades every Friday at the bowling alley. I played it quite a bit. Enough to where I was like, no, you're not really speaking to me if you're giving me this PG-13.
Yeah, it's like doing a PG Friday the 13th. Yeah. It's like, can you do it and can it be okay-ish? I guess, but you're missing a huge part of what it's about.
Yeah, so years later I did see it, and I've seen it a couple times. I didn't care much for it the first time. Second time, I was like, maybe I'll like it better. I didn't. But there's charming things about it, Raiden, the soundtrack. And this one, yeah, I wish this was the one that was released back 26 years ago, because, it gives you all the gore and language pretty early, pretty quick. And all those deaths you want, all the fatalities, you got it here. You got it in this movie. That was kind of, well, I'm not going to go so far as to say that was enough for me to like it. But it's charming beyond that. Yeah, it's got all the rough stuff that you want to see in a Mortal Kombat movie, while still not being as bloody as the bloodiest of the games.
But some of them get pretty impressive.
Oh, they do.
Well, and what's interesting about this movie, I think we were joking about this very early on, tonally, it jumps around a lot. Like, you see, you have this opening, this pretty good opening. I think the first 7 minutes are online already. Like they released it. Yeah. So just be a little prepared. The whole movie's not like that. Because I was like, oh my god, that opening, like, we're set, let's go. Oh, I'm gonna love the shit out of this. Then it cuts to this brand new character, because there's not enough characters in Mortal Kombat.
It needs a Walter the Muppet.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't get that. I didn't find him all that interesting. He's not bad, but he's not that interesting.
I agree.
And it shows him just as this fighter. Again, it almost kind of feels like Creed, like if there's cage fighting and stuff. It's like, okay, and then just suddenly Outworld, and it just cuts to this place and we're just like, what the hell?
The tonal whiplash every time it cut to Outworld. You're right, the editing's weird in this. It just like cuts. There's no real fades, establishing shots really, or at least organically. You'll be watching just like movie A, and then suddenly we cut to the planet Zeist, where it just tonally in every way, shape, or form feels like a different movie infiltrated this one.
What I like, and which is why I say I do like this just enough. I like it enough to say, yes, go see. If you're a Mortal Kombat fan, it's got stuff you're going to be looking for. Is that I don't mind, and I think this is where people are going to get like the wrong idea about the first one. I really don't mind silly in a Mortal Kombat movie. Mortal Kombat is silly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bloody as hell, it's super gory, and oh my god, when we were kids, that just blew our minds, and to see blood in a game like that, and those deaths, but it's still ridiculous, and that's part of the fun. So if they say a line in a corny way or something, or a line, there's a line in here, he's going to suck his soul. I mean, it's just like, how would you like to be the actor? I get to read the line, I get to say he's gonna suck his soul.
I would have loved to have been the actor doing so many lines in this movie, because just when you think the movie is starting to get a little too serious with its exposition dialogue, which there is quite a bit of that in the movie, it does follow it up with a joke to where it's kind of aware about it. It'll cut to Kano doing a lot of lines in this movie where he'll say something like, what the fuck are you talking about? What the hell is that shit? They'll say something like, wise, put their hand on his shoulder, and he's just like, what the fuck are you even talking about? And then you'll just hear him in the background sometimes, just go, womp womp. That was working for me. It was, because when the movie did a very good job of when you think it's getting a little too, like, dramatic, for lack of a better word, it's good at throwing in a joke and not having them all be groaners or super serious or super cheesy one-liners. I mean, they are
one or two.
There are quite a bit, but a lot of them land, because the actors do sell it, because the acting style in this film from a lot of characters is very akin to if you're watching a cutscene from a Mortal Kombat game. The way they're enunciating, the way they're saying these lines, even in the Outlands, like where they're saying this pretty stock villainy dialogue with each other. You can tell they're trying to mimic what these scenes would be like in one of the games. And for better or worse, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and then there's even one or two moments where you'll hear, like, I think this character comes up, I think he was like, wait, the guy just covered in all this metal stuff, got these glowing red eyes, all these mechanical parts, comes up, he's got a voice like this, hey, I'm on to the Kano guy, and it's just so ridiculous.
So that guy.
Yeah, I mean, just how can you not burst laughing? And that's the way he says he's gonna suck his soul, and I'm just like, alright, they have to be a little aware, and they have to be having fun with this too, while also taking it serious enough.
Right, and when that guy was a breath of fresh air when he popped up in the Outland scenes, he felt like he didn't belong. But he was mixing it up a bit from like the kind of stock exchanges the villains are giving each other.
And everyone else is talking this grand tone, they're beautiful, isn't she, and stuff, and then just, I got a bone to pick with that Kano, that motherfucker.
Yeah. I'm gonna chop his fucking dick off. Like it feels like you put in a code to enter a character from a different franchise. Like you're playing Mortal Kombat. I got it. I'm gonna put in the code to put Freddy Krueger in the game.
But that's a good way to kind of sum up this movie too. Is that honestly the two things that felt kind of last minute. One I'm for, one I'm against. One is that it does feel like the R rating was almost added like just before like maybe post-production or something, or a pre-production I should say, because a lot of the dialogue feels almost like a Marvel PG-13 movie sometimes.
Oh, are you talking about the language?
Not just the language, but I mean like talking about the exposition and some of the one-liners and stuff like that. But then suddenly, like when someone would be like sawed in half, I'll be like, oh yeah, this is a rated R Mortal Kombat movie. I kind of forgot about that. And it almost does feel like you entered a cheat code to see like let's see the gory scenes, let's hear the bad language, let's hear...
Certainly the because there was a lot of you could tell there was ADR with some lines in this. So, yeah, when there were a lot of F-bombs in it, you could kind of feel that like they're intentionally trying to put a lot of F-bombs in.
You know what it feels like? It feels like they didn't know yet if they wanted a PG-13 or an R, so they're like, shoot it both ways. And have both ready to go. Because, so many of the scenes in here, I'm like, well, okay, you could, like, in that death, you could cut away and have something like, like that, not show it. And again, a lot of the one-liners, it's like, well, okay, you didn't, it's not like that line wouldn't work if there wasn't an F-bomb there or something like that. But they're like, let's try both. Let's try, let's do the version for TV and then the version for... the unrated cut.
Yeah,
if you
that's
will.
what some of those lines did kind of feel like a little bit.
But I don't mean it as a bad thing. I'm actually very glad they went with the R version, clearly.
I am. I would be surprised to find out if this was ever considered to be a PG-13. Like, because... I would think they know that that's not gonna fly. Like, they got
there's a lot of people that like that original Mortal Kombat movie.
They are.
So I don't know.
I mean, like, everyone, I guess they were young. Like, I hate saying that.
Look, I mean, like, I get people that like the same way they like Space Jam. Like, come on! It's like, I get it.
No, I do too.
It's not a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the guy who sticks up for the wizard, so it's like, I get it.
Yeah.
I do. But I think if that movie from 95 came out today, they wouldn't be digging that shit. They wouldn't be putting up with they wouldn't be putting up with this PG-13 Mortal Kombat movie. So I would be surprised if they're gonna take that chance again on this movie. But a lot of the dialogue did kind of feel like that there probably is a TV edit version of some of these lines. The gore always felt to me in this movie like that was always part of the movie, because some of them are pretty intricate kills.
And they look pretty good. Even like the CG blood in this, because I mean, it's... A lot of people are against CG blood. I'm always like, dude, if you can do practical, do practical. But it's also, it's a film where, like, spikes are coming out of people's wrists and going to their hearts and pulling them out. Of course there's going to be CG blood in this, but it looks good. It looks creative. And again, we're used to seeing CG blood from Mortal Kombat. That's literally what it is from the game. So if you're going to see someone get hacked in half, by a saw, and, it's CG, it's like, well, it's just like the game.
I could have done without that, because I just don't like CGI blood. I don't.
But I mean, even like like I said, like the person being cut in half and the hands being cut in half, that's gonna be
I know
CG in a movie.
I know it's gonna be, unless I'm watching like, an Italian horror flick from several years ago or something like that, which are better effects. But this, I mean, once it started happening in this movie in the opening few minutes, I was kind of, okay, well, I mean, at least they are going for the gore. I could do without the CG, but
I think again because it's based on a video game where you're used to seeing that anyway, it didn't bother me as much.
It didn't feel to me like it was stylistic. Really, it felt like this would be like this regardless if this was based on a video.
I mean, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But I got used to it fast because they were being pretty creative.
Yeah.
So I did get used to it, and there were parts where it looked good.
If the original film did not exist, do you think you would like this film as much?
I mean, I've only seen the original movie twice, I think, and even the second time I saw it, it was quite a while ago. So I didn't come into this really thinking about that movie all that much when I was watching it. I'm not nostalgic for it. It was never really part of my teen years or anything like that. So I didn't go into this clean because I have seen the movie, but close enough. Like, I'm not... that movie's just not a huge part of my childhood, really. So I think I would have liked this just fine, regardless of that movie. But, I mean, that being said, immediately I was appreciating the fact that this was an R. So, yeah, that's true. I mean, I did have that in my head of like, okay, well, this is going for it a lot more than the other movie did. But I would have found this movie still pretty entertaining, regardless.
Yeah, I think I'm with you with the games, too. Like, I only played up to 3, and I've seen, like, clips of the other games. If you were to ask me, well, what's the backstory of each character, I can maybe tell you, like, a handful of them, but I don't know it well enough where I'm like, oh, yeah, well, that's authentic, that's totally right. I know, like, Sub-Zero and Scorpion, they hate each other, you know, and stuff like that. I know, like, Sonya Blade, I think, was in the army, as I think Jax was, too, you know, so it's like, I know some basic stories like that.
You're like, no, bullshit, man, Raiden's a French guy.
So, I mean, in terms of, like, how well does it follow the games? I mean, I think close-ish. As close as a movie that's acknowledging we're making up a main character when you clearly don't need one.
Yeah.
It could be. And even that character does have a relation to one of the other characters, so that's kind of nice. And even then, I've seen made-up main characters for a movie that has a bunch of already established characters done so much worse.
Yeah. And they give... Scorpion was who I always played in the game. And they give him some cool shit to do in this movie. So I always played him in the game because he was the only character whose moves I knew.
I was terrible at the game. I always played Kano because I was the only one I ever knew.
I did beat the first one. But I mean, like... I beat it on the Genesis and whatnot.
Yeah, I beat it on Super Nintendo, same thing. It's like, once you get a few moves down, it's like it's...
Yeah, so it's like I got fondness in that it's one of a few fighting games that I beat. Like, so that one helped you out, because if you lost a fight and then rematch, it was way easier. They made it way easier for you the second time. And I beat that, and I beat Clay Fighters.
I love Clay Fighters.
Yeah,
that game was great.
Yeah, Clay Fighters is good. Yeah, I beat that. I rented that game. I had it for a weekend, so hey, play it for a few days. You're gonna beat it. I don't think there were any others beyond. I would put. I was a button masher on fighting games.
Like, I love the Capcom games, like the versus, Marvel versus Street Fighter, and like all the Marvel versus Capcom, all those. Love it. Or X-Men versus Street Fighter. I forget. There's so damn many of them, but I loved them all. Like though, that was my jam, man.
I've even got Shaq Fu at home. I do. I'll break that out every now and then. I do. It's got a hilarious story. Hey man, I'm here for this tournament game. Yeah.
When are we gonna get the rated R version for that, man? When are we gonna get a movie version of that? He's still around, man. Bring him out.
In the acts, I still see him pop up in things. I mean,
how amazing would that be? A rated R version of Shaq Fu done just as like kind of dark and gritty, but also as silly as like this movie. I'd be so fucking down for that.
For some reason, he's played by LeBron James. Considering the movies I usually see Shaq in, unfortunately, I think if they did that movie, it would probably be a Happy Madison film. It might still be an R. I don't know.
I'd still see it.
Oh yeah, I would too. They were. Wasn't he doing like a crowdfund or something like that for not a movie, but I think like a new
sequel
game.
or something?
Yeah, like a new game or something.
I saw something like that, yeah.
Maybe he couldn't get the Pepsi sponsorship that the other game had.
Dude, did you ever see the show Fresh Off the Boat?
Just the one episode you showed me.
Oh, was it the Shaq Fu one? Was that the one I showed you?
Yeah, I think it was. See, you knew which one to show me.
Okay, yeah.
I'll show you this one. It's got Shaq Fu in it.
If you've never seen Fresh Off the Boat, first of all, it's a good show, but second, you gotta see the Shaq Fu episode. It's great.
Like 15 minutes ago, I'm going like, yeah, those people like Mortal Kombat 95 were just kids back then. 20 minutes later, I'm like, no, Shaq Fu, man, that's where it's at. It was misunderstood back in the day. People were too dumb to enjoy that shit. You got basketball, you got throwing basketballs at people as the guy looks like a toxic Avenger. Yeah, it's got an outworld in it. It's genius. It's kind of the opening scene from Gremlins, only if they made Rand Peltzer fight in some other dimension when he goes into the store.
Bottom line, skip this movie and just play Shaq Fu.
Yeah, that's my recommendation.
Put in the special Gore code.
I wish.
That everyone says doesn't exist, but we all know exists.
You knew it was good when the cartridge was like, had the yellow thing on it and was extra tall.
Yeah.
Where it's like, ooh, this cartridge is bigger, that means it's better. This and PGA Golf 2, it's the best games ever made.
It's just more game to play.
Yeah.
It's contain all the awesome.
It made it more difficult. I never got, I could beat like 2 characters in that damn game before I just get mad. What grade would you give, Shaq Fu's an A+. But
Clearly, come on. A plus plus.
Exactly. What grade would you give Mortal Kombat?
I guess I'm in a generous mood. I'll say B-.
I'll give it a B. I was pretty, considering how tired I am and how tired I was watching it, I was pretty entertained. The fights are done really well. There's some standout characters in it. There are, most of them being side characters, but there are standout characters. And they do, and more often than not, a lot of their funny lines worked. I thought quite a bit the humor was working for the movie. So I think I think this movie would probably go over well if you grew up with the game. I don't know. It seemed pretty Mortal Kombat-y to me.
Yeah, like I said, the big thing for me is just, like I said, I wish it just feels like one last editor went in there and they're like, chop it up, and I'm just like, that's the only thing that drives me nuts about it, because there's so many scenes where I'm like, I would be loving this if it just took its time a little bit more. Even the corny scenes, that's fine.
Yeah.
You just need to build them up. I like feeling like I'm in these worlds. I mean, that's the one thing the original Mortal Kombat got. I felt like I was there.
Yeah.
You know, it gave you time to really let yourself, kind of breathe and look at Gore and look how cool he looks in the animatronic and stuff. And, with this, it's like, he shows up, he's gone, he's just CG, whatever. And then it's like, oh, we're here, now we're not. It's one of those things where I'm like, I wish the editing was a little better. That was the only thing that kept me from, like, really loving the shit out of this movie.
I agree. Yeah, the editing was my big qualm about the movie, too. And I'm just sleepy. It'd be an A- if I brought one more soda with me.
Yeah. Have your Mountain Dew ready to go for this one.
Yeah. Well, I'll have a review coming up tomorrow for some anime movie that's coming out. I don't know. Jared's gonna be mad at me because I watched this without him. And I took him to In the Earth, which he hated. I'll have to lie and be like, no, you would have hated Mortal Kombat. Even though I think he probably really liked it.
It's like a soft G.
Yeah, dude. It's even more of a kid's movie than the other one. It's like talking bunnies and shit in it. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Later.